Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching at this news hour with the news. I'm Binyam Getana. Thank you for joining us and do stay tuned with the rest of the news. Ali Bira, the renowned and legendary Afan Oromo singer, has passed away after undergoing treatment for his serious illness. Ali Bira was born in Dirredwa City in May 1948, where he grew up listening to various local and international music in his childhood and started his musical career at school. He attended primary school in Dirredwa and high school at Addis Ababa Cathedral School. Ali studied music at Santa Monica College in the United States. Ali started his music career in 1962 by joining the traditional music group Afren Kallo, which aims to promote Oromo music. An honorary Dr. Ali Bira also sang in Amharic, Harari, Arabic, and other languages, working together with such legendary artists as Mahmoud Ahmed, Helen Barihe, and lately with Abraham Belaina. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his delegation has arrived in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, to participate in the 27th edition of the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The 27th Conference of the Parties, COP27, to the UNFCCC is scheduled from Sunday 6 November to Friday 18 November 2022. COP27 was originally expected to take place from 8 to 20 November 2021. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, COP26 was rescheduled from November 2020 to November 2021. Meanwhile, President Sahle-Work Zewde said a school feeding program is not a matter of luxury, rather it is a critical engine to ensure access to education. Speaking on the C40 Series Bloomberg Philanthropist Award ceremony, the president underlined efforts are needed to expand the school feeding program across the country. Haftamu Shagri has attended the event and compiled the following story. Take a look.
President Sahle-Work Zewde said the school feeding program is representing Ethiopia as a good opportunity at the national arena. Speaking on the C14 award ceremony, the president highlighted the school feeding program is not a luxury to students, but also the best practice should be expanded across the nation.
The engine of school feeding program is takeoff, and moving it isn't backing. Feeding is not a luxury, rather it's a basic need like the breath air to live. The school feeding program is a good startup in its building the nation's image at the international arena. It is also a pushing factor to do more in the near future.
According to the president, Addis Ababa is registering remarkable achievements in recycling activities. Addis Ababa City Mayor Adanech Abebe, for her part, said the C14 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropist Award is a pushing factor to do more in the near future.
This recognition is not only for Ethiopia, rather it is the achievement of all Africans in all diplomatic corps residing in the capital. Addis Ababa is a living place of diplomatic communities. When you see the achievements we've made, it's a motivating factor for further achievements. Thus, we have to be hammering these good deeds in the future.
Addis Ababa City Administration recognizes effective stakeholders who have been realizing activities in various development projects in the capital.
Congratulations, Africa, because it is the victory of.
Meanwhile, Addis Ababa's selections and winning of the C40 trophy for its 10-year composting plan is said to be exemplary for other African nations. Talking to ETV English, C40 Regional Director for Africa, Hastings Chikoko, said the award is a manifestation of Africa's commitment towards a cleaner environment. Once again, Haftam Shagri has compiled the following story.
Addis Ababa is tackling the problem of organic solid waste management and the safety issues experienced by local waste pickers. Addis Ababa has competed with over 200 international cities in various development projects. The C14 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Award recognized the best policies, projects or programs led by mayors that are effective at addressing the climate crisis. Briefing journalists, the C14 Regional Director for Africa, Astingus Chikoko, said the C14 award was given in recognition of Addis Ababa's effort to create a climate-resilient economy. He appreciates the attended achievements of Addis Ababa as exemplary to other African countries.
I really heard about the work happening here in Addis Ababa. I didn't expect that it is to this magnitude. To me, it's also when you look at the statistics, to me, I want data. I want facts to speak for themselves. When I hear that when the project started, 5 people only started the project, and now there are 100 people that are benefiting, that is impact, that is progress. So to me, what I have found really, really inspiring is how the project is expanding in terms of beneficiaries. It's not just the 5 people that started, then just benefiting those, but it's touching more households than one can imagine. That's inspiring.
The recognition is also critical to attract anchor investors and increase foreign direct investment to the nation.
You know, sometimes I'll speak as an African here. Sometimes we go to attract investment by selling pite, by selling tears. We go there crying, help us, we are struggling. And we want people to invest in our cities out of sympathy because they're just seeing struggles. They have just heard problem stories. What Addis Ababa is doing is saying, look, we are able to do something with the little that we have. We are committed. We have plans. We have the will. We are already doing something. Please come and just help us do more. That's a different story. Addis Ababa is taking to investors opportunities. Addis Ababa is taking to investors potential. It's saying this is what we are doing. There is potential here. Please invest in this spirit. Invest in this commitment. That is the lesson that African cities, African countries need to learn. We need to depart from just being sources of pity. We need to tell the world that Africa has solutions. Africa has possibilities. Africa has determination. Put money and you see what will come out of it.
School feeding, recycling projects, among others, are some of the fruits rendered activities of Addis Ababa City Administration to win the 2022 C14 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Award that was held in Argentina and Brazil. Addis Ababa cabinet members and senior C14 officials paid visit to various mega projects in the city of over 5 million, which also serves as the diplomatic capital of Africa.
Is the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, U.S. Ambassador to Ethiopia and Guinea, and a long-term U.S. diplomat.
I always hold up Ethiopia as the example of what Africa could have been without colonization.
So what is the future of Ethiopia?
I did not support the suspension of AGOA, because of historical, anyway. I looked at it, in its complexity, not as a simple act. But
Ambassador, I think the continent is endowed with a huge number of young populations, and many say that this is the potential.
When peace is restored and the country can get back to its natural progression of economic development, the government for quite a long time has undertaken a very aggressive policy of pursuing education.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching at this news hour. Now step into another domain. Ethiopia has been echoing GERD is a source of cooperation despite Egypt and Sudan concerned over the share of Abai River. With 3 consecutive fillings of GERD, the filling has not brought any significant harm to the riparian countries. Part of its plots, Egypt is expected to bring GERD as one of the discussion agenda at the COP27 conference, which is held in Egypt from now on. Tigasir Nisa has brings up to the speed.
Ethiopia has been able to realize the AU-led peace process in successful achievement couple of days back. By the same token, the issues regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam can be resolved among the three countries, namely Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Ethiopia believes in equitable and reasonable utilization of Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD with the downstream countries. It is expressed that Egypt has been expected to present the GERD as one of the discussion agendas at the 27th Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Egypt starting on Sunday. It is to be recalled that Ethiopia conveyed its firm stance regarding the GERD.
Let me be clear that Ethiopia doesn't believe the issue being discussed today has a legitimate place in the Security Council. It is bound to set a bad precedent and open a Pandora box. This council should not be a forum for exerting diplomatic pressure.
Ethiopia is a country endowed with the potential to produce up to 45,000 megawatts of renewable energy, yet it is still in a miserable state, as no less than 56% of its population lacks access to electricity.
Tejnesh Gerome shows us all she's ever used to light up her house, a bottle kerosene lamp. She lives in a village 2 hours drive north of Addis Ababa.
We have many health problems. We spend more time than we should in hospitals, and I think it's linked to this lamp.
The GERD is meant to snap the country out of poverty. It was urged that the GERD is a blessing to downstream nations. In relation to climate change, it was noted.
When you have a dam like Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, it is a blessing for Sudan, for Rosaires Dam. Why? Number one, you see the variability of the river itself. There are cases when there are huge flood. There are cases when there are very low flows. What does GERD does for Rosaires Dam? It suppresses, it reduces the amplitude of the huge flood by storing the huge flood in the GERD and release regulated flow towards Rosaires. So if you just take that particular scenario alone, it does, then Rosaires will no more be exposed to high variability of flow. Rather, it gets an amplitude reduced type of extreme events. Particularly in the area of climate change, it is a very blessing solution. Second, in the drought period also, it releases because in any year, in any particular year, the interest of Ethiopia is not to keep the total amount of flow in the reservoir. Once it is filled, then it continuously releases whatever comes in a particular year in full.
Rooted in a vision of building a green and climate resilient Ethiopia, the Green Legacy Initiative was launched in June 2019. The target of planting 20 billion seedlings within a period of 4 years was set. By the fourth year, Ethiopia has succeeded in planting 25 billion seedlings by mobilizing more than 20 million citizens throughout the nation. Ethiopia has been contributing its fair share regarding creating a green and climate resilient Horn region.
Meanwhile, experts said Ethiopia's commendable environmental protection works are viable solutions for water resource problems in the region. Land and water resource experts underscore that soil and water conservation works will not only increase production and productivity, but also protect the Tana and Nile basin from being filled with silt. Johannes Fentaun has compiled the full story. Take a look.
The East African region is vulnerable for natural and man-made problems. High-level natural resources are threatened due to climate change. In order to prevent the impacts of climate change from worsening damage, the government has taken environmental protection works as a solution. One of the areas where community-based and irrigated watershed work is carried out by Water and Land Resource Center, which is an autonomous institution of Addis Ababa University, is the Tana and Nile River Basin. Asaf Ader, an expert in irrigated watershed development at the center, told Ethiopian news agencies that the project is doing extensive works in the watershed program.
በዚህ በጣና ተፋሰስ ሙሉ በሙሉ 100%
The soil and water conservation work we are doing at Nile River Basin will save Tana. Saving Tana also means saving the Nile Basin, as Lake Tana is in the Nile Basin. In addition, our work also protects the Renaissance Dam.
የአባይን ግድብ ያለው መታደግ ነው።
The expert also says that soil and water conservation works in the basin will not only increase production and productivity, but also protect the Tana and the Nile basins from being filled with silt. Melissa Bililing, for his part, said that the natural resource protection work is carried out in the Nile basin under the leadership of the center, and other institutions will help to deal the adverse effects of climate change.
አሁን ካለንበት የክላይሜት ቼንጅ አንጻር
The current climate change situation in the East Africa region is alarming. The natural conservation works that we are undertaking in the Nile River Basin will be a lesson for all other neighboring areas. It also allows us to restore the forest cover of the Tana and Nile basins and other areas of our country.
Warrata Abara, a senior expert at the Water and Land Resource Center, said that the areas that were degraded at the time are now green forests due to the environmental protection works that were done and are being used for the benefit of the community.
እዚህ አካባቢ የምንሰራቸው ስራዎች ሁሉ
The activities that we have done in this area has a big contribution in preventing climate change. It's also very important for the dams we build not filled with silt. Environmental protection work enables us to solve the conflict that exists due to the use of river and water.
በወንዝና በውሃ አጠቃቀም ያለን ግጭት ሁሉ ይፈታል።
The expert also says that the environmental protection works carried out by Ethiopia in the Tana and Nile basins will not only prevent soil erosion and silt filling of dams, but will also be a solution to regional good governance problems caused by climate change and river water pollution. Various forums are being held to reach agreements that will allow the adoption of solutions to climate change, which is a threat to human existence. One of the most prominent conferences in the sector, the World Climate Change Conference or Conference of Parties, which will be attended by more than 100 world leaders and other stakeholders, will be held in Egypt. Ethiopia should demonstrate its commendable environmental protection activities to the international community in order to increase more capacity in the environmental protection in the region, experts underlined.
Once again, welcome back. You're watching at this news hour. Now step into peace-related news. An international legal expert said that the peace pact made between the federal government and the TPLF is an exemplary for East Africa as well as to the continent. Zelalem Moges, an international legal expert, noted that the peace agreement is a showcase of principle of African solution to African problems. Shagoy Matao has compiled the full story.
Talking to ETV, an international legal expert, Zelalem Moges, underlined that the peace agreement signed between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF is monumental for Ethiopia, East Africa, and Africa as a continent.
The permanent ceasefire agreement between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF provides an opportunity for Tigrayans to restore peace and a normal life and to rebuild infrastructures damaged by the war. Peace is indispensable. Hence, the peace agreement brings relief to the people of Tigray as well as the nation. It has also a great implication to the Horn of Africa. A Kenyan journalist told me that Ethiopia is the home of Africa. If Ethiopia symbolizes a great dam, and if the dam collapses, everybody will be swamped. Maintaining Ethiopia from destabilization has pivotal role not only for East Africa, but also for Africa as a continent. The peace agreement for Africa has a wider implication. At the beginning of the document, in the agreement says African solutions to African problems. Basically, the agreement is conducted under the auspice of the African Union with the African leaders. Therefore, the agreement will be a priority to Africa as it realizes African solutions to African problems.
The legal experts also indicated that Ethiopia triumphed in the peace agreement but not a single party.
In my view, I disagree with the idea of the federal government has won and Tigray has lost or vice versa.
When we think of the peace agreement, we need to think of one country. We need to consider that when TPLF benefits, Ethiopia benefits, and the federal government benefits, Ethiopia benefits. Instead of thinking of the TPLF and the federal government, we need to think of the advantage Ethiopia has got.
ነገር ግን ህወሓት ምን አገኘ የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ምን አገኘ የሚለውን ኢትዮጵያ ምን አገኘች በሚለው ጋየውና
Moges further called on all Ethiopians to discharge social responsibilities for the success of the peace deal.
በሽታ ሲያገረሽ እንዴት ነው ከመጀመሪያው የበለጠ ነው የሚሆነው ስለዚህ በጥንቃቄ መታየት አለበት
The agreement needs to be implemented cautiously. If this agreement fails, Ethiopia will be in a great crisis. The communities need to distance themselves from any fake news that hinders the implementation of the peace agreement. The media also need to do their right duties. They need to campaign against beating war drums but preach about the essence of peace. As there is time for war, there is also time for peace. Now is the time to talk about.
The expert finally called on political elites to galvanize the community to stand for peace.